We're always hearing about how AI is coming to replace us. But what if that's the completely wrong way to think about it? This explainer is all about a white paper that presents a wild new idea, that the human mind isn't obsolete. It just needs an upgrade to the speed of light. This quote really just cuts right to the heart of the problem. The authors call our most advanced AIs philosophical zombies. It's a fantastic term. It means they can perfectly mimic being intelligent. They can talk, they can reason, they can create amazing art, but they don't have any genuine intent. There's no want behind what they do. It's like the world's greatest actor playing a part, but with no inner feeling, no real choice. And that's the big pivot right there. This new concept, the Neurophotonic Agency or NPA architecture, doesn't even try to build an artificial mind. Instead, it starts with the idea that our biological brain is the only thing in the universe we know of that has true agency, true will. So why not just make that exponentially more powerful? So let's dig into this P-zombie problem a little deeper. What is the fundamental nitty-gritty difference between how a computer thinks and how we actually make a choice? To really get why this new tech is such a breakthrough, you have to understand the wall that all our current technology keeps smashing into. Okay, here's the breakdown. On one hand, you have algorithmic intelligence. It's like a train on a set of tracks. It can go incredibly fast, but it can only go where the tracks, the data and its programming are already laid out. It's totally deterministic. But then you have biological agency. That's us. We're like hikers in a huge open forest. We can choose any path we want. Our will actually takes all these fuzzy possibilities and collapses them into one single concrete choice. That's a real act of creation, and it's something silicon just can't do. And that's exactly why today's brain-computer interfaces feel kinda underwhelming, right? We're taking this incredibly rich, chaotic, beautiful symphony of human thought and trying to translate it into ones and zeros. It's like trying to force an IMAX movie through a coffee straw. What you get out the other end isn't an expanded mind. It's just a faster way to type. It's a boost for your hands, not for your brain. So how does this new architecture get around that problem? Well, the first part of this puzzle is just brilliant. It's all about how it filters the signal from the noise. I mean, your brain is a constant electrical storm. The system needed a way to know when you really mean it. And the solution is this amazing biological lock and key system. It all kicks off with a chemical called glutamate. See, when you form a really deliberate, intentional thought, like a genuine choice or a moment of deep focus, your neurons don't just fire. They unleash a massive flood of this specific neurotransmitter. That surge of glutamate is the first signal, the knock at the door that says a high-level thought is happening right now. But that's just step one. Glutamate is everywhere in the brain, so you need a second factor. And this is the really clever part. The device has a layer of enzymes that instantly react with that glutamate flood, and that reaction creates a very specific byproduct, hydrogen peroxide. That chemical, the H2O2, is the proof of intent. It's the key that actually turns the lock. And this is where the engineering is just chef's kiss. The system uses this special material called tin perovskite. Now, normally, this material has a weakness. It's super sensitive to oxidation. But the engineers took that weakness and turned it into the system's greatest strength. The tiny bit of hydrogen peroxide created by your thought immediately oxidizes the material, flipping it from an electrical insulator, an off state, to a conductor, an on state. It's a perfect biological switch. So let's just recap that, because it's so elegant. 1. Your intentional thought creates a flood of glutamate. 2. An enzyme turns that glutamate into hydrogen peroxide. 3. The hydrogen peroxide flips an arterial switch. And 4. The gate opens and the signal is passed on to the accelerator. It's an almost foolproof filter for your thoughts, only letting true intent through. Okay, so the chemical gate is open. The system knows you're serious. Now, this is where things go from science fiction to something else entirely. The signal is turned into a pulse of light, and it enters a processor that doesn't have a single transistor. Forget CPUs. We're talking about a crystal brain. The speed here is it's almost impossible to really grasp. The entire computation happens in 10 femtoseconds. Let me put it this way. In the time it takes for light to zip across this tiny 2mm crystal, a top-of-the-line gaming GPU hasn't even finished its first clock cycle. It's not just faster, it is, for all human purposes, instantaneous. And if that wasn't crazy enough, get this. The energy cost for that computation is zero. Zilch. Nothing. All the energy was spent one time, when the crystal was made. The actual act of computing is a passive physical process. It's like a rock rolling downhill. It just happens. No energy consumed, no heat produced. So how on earth does that work? Well, don't think of it as a computer. Think of it as a 3D printed maze for light. It's called a diffractive optical neural network. And the logic, the solution to a complex problem, is physically etched into the structure of the crystal itself. When your thought, now as a pulse of light, enters this crystal maze, it just naturally bounces around, diffracts, and interferes with itself, until it comes out the other side as the answer. The light literally solves the problem all by itself. The potential for scaling here is just off the charts. You've got passive, instant calculations happening in 3 dimensions. And you can even run hundreds or thousands of totally different computations inside the same crystal at the same time, just by sending in different colors of light. Each color follows its own path through the crystal's logic. It's massively parallel in a way silicon could only dream of. All right, now for the final, and maybe the most mind-bending piece of the puzzle. We have an answer, computed literally at the speed of light. But how do you get that answer back into the brain without it feeling like a pop-up ad in your head? Here's how. The light that comes out of the crystal, the answer, hits a tiny detector. That detector then generates a super precise, localized electric field. This field gently nudges the target neuron, causing it to fire. But here's the key. It never actually touches it. It's called epiphytic coupling, and because of a protective glass skin over the device, it's completely safe for your brain tissue. And this is the incredible psychological payoff. Because the signal isn't coming through your eyes or your ears or any of your senses, your brain doesn't register it as something from the outside world. It interprets it as an endogenous insight. It literally feels like a sudden flash of intuition, a brilliant idea that just popped into your head, or a complex memory that you just recalled. The line between your natural thought and the augmented result, it completely disappears. So let's just zoom all the way out here and think about what this really means. This isn't just about building a faster computer. This is a fundamental change in the entire relationship between us and our technology. We spend so much time and energy worrying about the dangers of creating a separate artificial intelligence. This architecture just flips the whole script. It says the goal isn't to replace human agency, it's to augment it. The human mind stays as the captain of the ship. This just gives it a warp drive. It's a technology built on the premise that human will is the one thing you can't and shouldn't replace. And that leaves us with a really profound question to chew on. Imagine a surgeon who could just know the entire history of medicine, who could see a disease and intuitively understand its origins. Or an engineer who could just feel the structural integrity of a bridge as they design it. If you could really think at the speed of light, with instant access to any information you needed, what problems would you choose to solve? What new worlds, completely unimaginable to us today, would you decide to build?